All right. Hello, everybody out in Arrows Edge Leaders Collective. It is nice to see you today for your weekly training. As always, we are coming to talk to you about your identity, your purpose, and your destiny. That is, step fully into your God given identity so that you can do life on purpose and fulfill that destiny that He has for you. Today, we have an awesome guest. I am so excited to introduce her because man, when I first started talking to her, there was such energy, and I can just feel the grace that God has placed on her life, the anointing and the call that God's placed on her life. And we right away talked about doing a little bit of a training and teaching here. Hope to have her on several times. She is a Canadian, a former musician, and right now is a screenwriter. She's got a script out there that is being created for her movie. And I'm going to let her talk to us a little bit about who she is and what she is before we get into the meat of the teaching. Jaclyn, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Please tell us just 2 minutes about yourself and about that movie you're creating.
Okay, sure. So I was born and raised on the west coast of British Columbia. That's like as far west as you can get in Canada. There's like a little island, so I'm even like further west, just as far as you can go. So I'm total west coast kind of girl. And I loved the arts when I was growing up. Acting, singing, dancing, writing. And actually, it's funny that writing was something I loved to do, but I loved to do it by myself. Not really many people even knew that I was a writer. I always thought I was going to be a musician. I grew up playing several instruments and singing, writing songs. And I did pursue music for a while, and I was doing pretty well. There's some music you can listen to on my website that I produced. That's princessofyah.com. Yah is spelled Y-A-H. And then I realized, actually, as much as I love music, it was just not the lifestyle that I wanted. And I'm a homebody, and I love, being with my family. And I was raising small kids and stuff. And yeah, so I walked away from that, and I decided, actually, not long after that I wanted to pursue writing. And the first script that is going to be produced, it's been optioned, which is the first step in purchase and production. It's called Solitary Refinement, and it's based on a true story, which is it's inspired by my life events. And so I am telling the testimony of the amazing things that God has done in my life. And I love to, as you know, every time we talk, it always goes there. Every conversation goes to, look what God did. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm so excited for you, and the fact that you would walk away from something that was like so fruitful and had such energy on it because it wasn't the thing at the time, which is actually what we're talking about today.
Mhm.
We want to talk about times and seasons. So Jaclyn, tell me a little bit about what is the most significant thing that you've really learned and walked through in this season.
On Sunday, I had a really interesting kind of thought or epiphany or whatever you want to call it, where I realized, okay, our faith and what God can take us through and grow us through is kind of like an investment in, and what type of investment is that? It's going to depend on what we're able to withstand. So for those of you that know how investments work, like there's the low risk investments, which, you're going to have that steady incline. It's slow and steady, but you're always progressing. And then there's the ones that are more volatile, which are high risk, but also have the potential of high reward, where you're going to have the highs and the lows, and it's just going to be like crazy up and down. And so if you are the type of investment that is okay with the high risk, then that means you're going to be okay with riding the lows, because you see your investment here and then it drops here, and you have to trust that over time it's going to still progress, right? And I feel like I've always been that all in kind of person, and my investments, all of them are, they're high volatility. So my walk with God, one of the prayers that I said when I gave him my life was like, I'm done with me. Show me you have something better. And, I realized recently that he kept it to himself in the moment, but looking back, I realized he was probably like, buckle up. Because he knew my personality, where I was like, I need to see those highs. I'm okay to ride the lows. And so that has been that has been the essence of my faith walk. And so, I encourage people, like, to consider, like, what kind of person are you in where God can take you in your faith, and in that type of investment. Like, are you the type of person that needs just that consistent, steady rise, where, I mean, and all of it is moving toward progression. So it's not, there's no judgment on any of it, at all. But just, if you understand, then you'll know better what to expect. Because, like in an investment, you can't expect to get, from, let's say if you invest $100, you can't expect to double that in a month if you have a low risk investment. You just can't. But if you have a high risk, there's the potential. And so, how risky are you willing to be? Or how are you willing to talk to people you don't know at a bus stop? Like, where is, which I've done. So where is your level of investment? Are you willing to just strike up a conversation or speak out in a meeting, and say something that that nobody really wants to address, but you have to say what needs to be said? Like, are you willing to be that person? Because it's going to match your expectations, right? So either, if you decide, like, I want to be that person, then you can ask God to build your faith, but then be willing to take those steps to increase your faith, to be able to withstand those kinds of expectations. Because people used to say to me, oh, I wish I had faith like yours. Because I faced homelessness like 3 times. Like, I was like this close to being homeless as a single parent 3 times. And every time God came through in amazing ways. So everybody that was in my life knew exactly, like, God was doing amazing things in my life. They'd say, I want faith like yours. And I'm like, you don't know what you're asking. You want faith like mine, you got to be willing to ride the highs and lows. And it can be so exciting when God steps in and does amazing things. But when you're in that moment where you're needing the miracle, it doesn't feel so good. It feels like quite a low, where you're like, God, where are you? What's going on? But if you want a miracle, if you want to be able to have a miracle to witness with your life and all of that, you have to be able to be in a position where you require one.
Okay, I love this. Let's break that down just a second. What I'm hearing you say, and you're encouraging our listeners to do is, first of all, if you really want to walk into your destiny with God, you got to be willing to step out and take a risk. You've got to be willing to be uncomfortable. And I love that. It's so true. My life reflects that as well. And one other thing with that is that in the midst of the lows, we have to be okay with knowing that God hasn't abandoned us. God hasn't walked away from us. There's lows to be able to get those highs. And you can't always live in those highs, and you can't let those lows just tear your soul apart. Because if you let it tear you down, you're not going to be able to ride those high waves. It's a culture of progress. It is doing one thing at a time, taking one step after another, always, knowing that, hey, we might fail sometimes, we're going to win sometimes, but no matter what, we're always learning and we're always progressing. And I absolutely love that. I cannot wait to hear more of your story as we continue to have like times like this together. Today, I kind of wanted to talk to you also about navigating times and seasons. You were telling me a little bit that, recognizing the season, being willing to step into it, or being willing to walk out of something that seems awesome because you're out of season, like you did with your singing and songwriting career. Oh my goodness, I can't even imagine. You're getting success, it's going well, and you're like, I'm not where I'm supposed to be and this isn't the life I want to live. So you were willing to just put the brakes on the whole thing
Yeah.
and start something completely new. Now that takes risk. I really applaud you for that. Like,
Well, thank you.
most people would be like, dude, I am a singer and I'm
Yeah.
going after this thing and people are going to know me and see me. You're like, I don't like this. I'm going to walk away.
Well, but it didn't make me less of a singer. This is the other thing, is that it's okay to walk away. It doesn't change who you are. I'm still a singer. I sing all the time. You know, I'm still a singer. It's still part of who I am. I still love it. It's just, I realized it was going to take away from other things that I knew God was calling me to more so. And I also left it with him that if I was meant to go back to it, that he would open the door, and that, I'd be happy to walk through it when it came to be the time.
Yeah, because if you hold on to something so tight, you've got your
Mm-hmm.
fingers, you're clenched. God
Yeah.
can't put anything into it. But if you
Yeah.
open your hands and release that, He can give you something else into your hands that is even more powerful, that is even
Mm-hmm.
more up leveled. I love that. So one more thing before we end, talk to me about discerning the times and seasons. I love to hear about that
Yeah.
process.
Yeah. Well, it's really important to understand the season that God has you in. I mean, if you think about gardening, or planting crops and things like that, you can't plant tomatoes outside in the winter. It's not going to work. They will die. It will not be fruitful, right? And so understanding the season and what you're supposed to do in that season is going to actually move things forward more than if you had just tried to do it your own way. So asking God and seeking him, like, what is the season that I'm in right now? Like right now, I know I'm in a transitional season where I am wrapping up loose ends with one part of my life and preparing to move into the next part of my life. And so I'm not focused on writing right now, because that's not my season, as much as I love writing. And I was thinking about it the other day. Oh, I want to work on this script. And I realized, but then I'm missing what I'm supposed to be doing. I have other things that God is saying, take care of this, because when the time comes to move, I need to be ready for it. So he's giving me the grace to understand it's a season of transition, and I need to wrap up loose ends, right? But there are times where it is it's a planting season, and you're supposed to be organizing things in your life. And that's what I was doing um for the last couple years with my screenwriting stuff. I was writing several scripts. I was networking, and I was entering competitions and things like that. So I was building my reputation as a writer, and was able to have a script that was optioned. And so now that part is done, God is like, now I need you to focus on transitioning with your family and get everybody ready to move into the next phase, right? um, but if you think about, like, pray in your own situation, like, God, what is it that I'm supposed to be focused on right now? And this is the hard part. You have to pray that with a heart that you are ready to hear an answer you don't want to hear. Like,
Come
you
on.
have to prepare your own heart to hear something you may not want to hear, because you might want to hear God say, I want you to soar. I'm going to open doors and you're going to walk right through them. And God's going to say, I want you to focus on this particular sin that you're dealing with. And you're like, oh, I'm working on that. What? And whatever it is, it might be something like that, where God is like, I need you to deal with your righteousness. I need you to be clean, because wherever it is that he's taking you, the enemy is there. And if you give him a foothold or an open door, then the enemy can get in there and mess up everything that you've worked hard for. So that's just an example, like understanding what season you're in, because if you jump before it's time, who's going to catch you? He's like, I didn't set it up yet. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've had those moments with God where I jump before time because I'm a very prophetic person. So
Mhm.
I see way out there instead of right in front of me. And I'm also just very open to adventure, as you can see right behind me. And so I'm like, oh, adventure with God, let's go. And he's like, no, that was for a year from now. I'm like,
Yeah.
Shucks.
Yeah. And then not being like stuck on the, oh, but I saw it. I need to make it happen now. And they're like, oh, don't be like Sarah, like.
I was just gonna say, yes, don't be like Sarah. Don't make it happen in your own power. Now, I
Mhm.
know with a lot of my coaching clients, they're wanting like business coaches and consultants, but they're like jumping ahead of themselves
Yeah.
because what I'm seeing over and over again is they're building businesses that are not taking off, that aren't able to work because they haven't first worked on their heart. They
Yeah.
haven't first developed those powerful mindsets that they need to be walking out into in
Mhm.
order to be able to establish and maintain that destiny that God has for them.
Yeah.
So I'm always like, hold up, let's work on your personal coaching a little bit, and then we'll hook you up with that business
Yeah.
consulting. But don't put the cart before the horse. You got to do that heart work
Yeah,
before
absolutely.
you go into that launching that new business, launching that new ministry, stepping out into those things. Make sure that you have, because I tell you what, you get into business, you get into ministry, there are some hard things that you will face, including naysayers, bad words, slander, all those things. Your heart has to be able to be so certain about who you are in God that you can walk forward and not be completely cut off at the knees for that thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I saw one of your videos where you were talking about like doing the work on yourself and, because you are your business, right? Like if your business is ministry or coaching or whatever, like who you are is so much involved in your product that you're offering. And so if God is saying, well, we need to work on you first, and you're like, no, I'm good. He's like, meh. We really could work on this first. But there are times where God is willing to work with you, even though like there are things that need to be worked on. And he's like, no, I want you here anyways. And we'll work on it while we're there. I've been there. And that is such a humbling experience because this is actually where my script came from, is a season in my life. I actually took 2 seasons of my life and kind of overlapped them. But there was one season where I needed to restore the relationship with my parents. I basically left home at 17 and walked away from my whole family, didn't really have anything to do with them. And then for like 10 years. And then I also, like, around that time, got a job at a prison. And so I was teaching life skills. And I was a single parent, barely able to make my rent. I had no idea where I was going in life, and like the talents that God had given me. I was like, how am I supposed to pursue any of this? Like, and I was a wreck. And I was like, here I am trying to teach life skills to inmates. And I just felt like I am only this far ahead of them in life. Like, in the sense that my hangups didn't land me in jail. That's all. That's the only difference. Like, but I had so many issues. And I would cry every time I drove to work because I knew that God had called me there. And I felt so unequipped and so unqualified. And I was like, God, please, like, natural disaster, bring an earthquake, I don't know, rapture, whatever, like, just get me out of this. And no, every day I got there and there was still no rapture. So I had to go to work. And so here I am standing in front of these guys, because I was teaching men in a facility that was a maximum security facility. And they're just staring at me like I'm supposed to have some kind of answer or information. And here I am like, God, I'm not saying a word unless you give me something to say. So he taught me how to keep my mouth closed
Mm.
because I was like, I'm not saying anything. I don't have a clue. And then he would actually give me insight and I'd start talking about it. And then I would get more insight as I was, talking. And so they thought that I was like this amazingly wise person or something like that. And here I am like, I don't know what I'm doing moment to moment. I'm just
I call that
literally
Holy
praying
Spirit
the whole
teaching.
time.
Yeah. That's Holy Spirit cheat sheet. That's what I call it. You can like,
Mhm.
what am I supposed to say?
Yeah.
And he makes you look smart. It's awesome.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the verse that I just this is like my life verse here because I do talk a lot, but even a fool can appear wise if he keeps his mouth shut. You know, like
Mhm.
sometimes I just need to stop talking.
That's a good word right there. All right. Wow. This time's going really fast. Let's jump into is there any last nugget you would like to share before we put this training to a close?
You know, I guess sometimes when it comes to understanding seasons, you know, if especially if there's something we want really, really, really bad, we can make it seem like it's something that God put in our heart, and maybe He did, but again, like timing and stuff like that. So mentors are really important, you know, to because there's been times where I knew that my heart and my attitude was so focused on one specific thing that I wasn't necessarily going to be able to hear clearly if it was what I was supposed to move on at the time. So I asked God to give the answer to a couple of other people that are spiritually mature and close to me in my life. And then I said, if they can confirm, you know, and separate people, separate occasions, if they confirm an answer, I'll go with it, whatever it is, you know. And so that's been hard because sometimes they come back with the answer I don't want. And they confirm, but I did not want that answer. But you know, if you're wanting to grow, because the more that you follow it, the more it builds your faith. And even if it means like, I gotta wait again, like, and even not obsessing about stuff, like, so I have had God give me a vision of where I'm gonna be a year from now, and I have no idea how He's gonna get me there, not a clue. But instead of me just like thinking, how's this plan gonna work? Is it gonna be like this? Is it gonna do that? Oh, I should watch for this. I've learned He's gonna do it, and I'm just going to have a story to tell later. And I need to focus on what I'm supposed to focus on right now.
That was a good word. Thank you so much for that. 100% agree. And it's definitely worth it to put the time in to seek the Lord, have mentors, have people speak in your life, have people outside your immediate family because they're too close sometimes to
Well,
really
they
be
want
able
the
to,
same things
it's
you do,
like
right?
being in your own head, right?
Yeah, yeah. And they want the same things. They want to confirm what you want. And yeah, so it's important to have the outside mentors. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, we better wrap up. We are running out of time today. I hate to end it because I'm having a great time, but we're going to have you back very, very
For
soon.
sure.
Jaclyn, I just wish you the best in your screenwriting, in your life, in your transitional stage. A lot of my clients right now, I feel like the majority of the world is in transition
Mm.
this year. And so I love that you were talking about, hey, I'm in transition, but there are different seasons of there's sowing, there's reaping, there's planting. You know,
Mhm.
there's the growing, there's the winter season where nothing is happening. And that's a really hard season for a
It's
lot
a
of
rest season.
it's a rest season.
Yeah.
Take everything from a place of rest
Hmm.
and be really chill with God. You know, take risk, but also know that in those times of rest or in times of
Yeah.
nothing's going right, to just be at peace in
Yeah.
the middle of everything. So,
Yeah.
and it's been great having you. I cannot wait to have you back. And to all of you listening, I hope this encouraged you. If you would just drop a comment below to say one encouraging thing to Jaclyn that you heard from what she said today that we can kind of discuss and talk about, we'd love that. So comment below. We love you guys. Go
Thank you.
ahead and step fully into your identity and do life intentionally. Do it on purpose so you can fulfill that God given destiny. We love y'all.